All right, guys, I'll be with you in a second. All right, guys. So we don't have a lot to go over tonight because tomorrow morning is ECB, so their interest rate decision and also their statement. So we are going to not look at anything euro. I mean, we'll look if you guys want us to look, but we're not interested in trading anything euro because we don't want to get stuck in it overnight and possibly be in the position heading into that ECB announcement, which is way too much risk for us. So we do have three to look at. I'll show you real quick. We got, that is the economic calendar for you guys. So we have some news coming out from Japan, from Aussie, and then from China. Those are the three pairs we're going to look to trade tonight. And that's the website, Unique Forex Pro. Check that out. You could join our virtual trading desk, which we're the first company to offer a virtual trading desk. So pretty cool stuff what we got going on. Like I said, there's only those three. We're going to ignore euros tonight. Just we don't want to be involved with the ECB. And Aussie started running here with, and so did the Kiwi. So we're kind of shying away from the Aussie. Plus the setups weren't looking very good, although we will look at them again this evening after the news comes out, the consumer inflation from Australia. You got to know about that news from China because that's PPI and CPI at 8:30 on the East Coast here. Just because China's economy is so large. So the first one we're looking at here is pound yen. Okay, so if we look at it over a 2-month period on the hourly, it's definitely in a downtrend. So we've drawn here a couple of lines, two different trend lines, which we have creating a nice wedge, and we talked about this last night. We actually traded this within the wedge last night, picked up some pips on this on the short side last night. But it's still confined in this wedge, as you see. The algorithm is predicting it's going to stay within that wedge throughout this evening. But eventually, you know, when it gets to this apex, or it could break out sooner than that. But if it doesn't, it gets to this apex, it's going to go eventually somewhere. And when you see these type of setups, this could very easily act as a springboard. So, you know, if this thing doesn't break out until it gets to very close to the apex and it goes one way or the other, it could be pretty violent. We'd prefer to see it to the downside just because over the last 2 months it's been very weak. But we're also ready to act in either direction. Right now the algorithm is at 79% that it's just going to pretty much meander within here. So we have alerts set up. I don't know if you could quite see. We have alerts set up here. Actually, this one has to be adjusted. I'll move this up a little bit, and this one needs to come down a little bit. So we have alerts set up, so if it does happen to break, we'll be alerted. So we'll look for a break, we'll look for a close out of this formation, and we'll also look for our algorithm. The blue is the algorithm with the forecasting out 24 periods. We'll see what that gives us. Like I said, right now, 79% chance that it's going to stay within that range. But we'll see. Pound dollar is another one. So this one we got quite a few lines drawn on. So we backed this out over 2 months, obviously to the downside here. Creating, you know, somewhat of a couple of different wedges here. A little bit longer term wedge would be this one here. And then shorter term, I like this shorter term one here. Got really close to breaking down earlier this morning. Let me just zoom in on that. Right here, it had a really close to breaking down earlier this morning over here. And just that wedge just held it, that short-term trend line. So this is pretty solid because you got 1, 2, 3, 4, let's call it four touches right here. I like to see that. The top one's really only got these two. Hasn't made it all the way back up to touch. You know, maybe you could adjust this top one so that it's not just relying on there. You know, maybe bring it down like this. But then it throws that off, right? So you could bring it down here. I prefer to bring it right up to that line there. So we'll see. Right now, the algorithm is 66% chance that it's going to break up to the upside. At least this lower line from the wedge, this lower trend line from the wedge. If we could get through that, it's going to run into more trouble, which is a little bit longer term trend line, right? So, I don't know. I mean, obviously on a 2-month period on the hourly, it looking to the downside. But as we mentioned yesterday, this move here since the end of February has been pretty strong to the upside, and it's being supported by these higher lows. So we will see. Again, we're going to wait for a close either above or below the trend line with our algorithm pointing in the same direction that it's moving, and an 85% chance or higher of the forecast playing out. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. And the last one is US dollar Japanese yen, which we're going to zoom out. And we look at this over a 2-month period. It's been very weak as well. Now we do have 2 short-term trend lines here drawn within the confines of that lower move. And again, we have the algorithm bouncing in between this wedge that it's forming. It is forecasting a breakout here, but you can see it's only going to run, if it does break out, it's only going to run about 20 or 30 pips and then stall out. At least that's the forecast. But right now we're only 70% chance. And you can see what happened here. When was this? Was this, I guess, overnight or early this morning? Actually, early this morning. It tried to break down and then completely reversed. We didn't take this trade because the forecast was not showing a breakdown. The forecast ended up being correct, where it was showing that it was going to move back up into the range. So we don't want to go against the algorithm. We don't want to go against. This breakdown was very tempting to take, even on the close here, right here. This candle here closed below. Let me see if I can zoom in. This candle here closed below, so it was very tempting to take that just for like a quick scalp. But we just didn't have the confirmation by the algorithm, so we kind of shied away from it. And probably the right move, because really this is only about a 20 pip drop, and that's if you catch close to the bottom, right? So it was really only good for about 10 pips. And meanwhile, you're going to be risking so much that your size is not going to be a full size scalp. So that's the way we look at things when we look to trade. So again, not taking any euros tonight. Don't want to get stuck in it in case we get stuck in it heading into tomorrow's ECB, which is huge news. If you guys have anything that you want me to look at, I'll check out some pairs for you. If not, we'll wrap it up tonight. Thanks for the hearts, guys. Share the broadcast if you don't mind. Aussie, New Zealand, probably moving quite a bit because New Zealand had, I think New Zealand came out with their interest rate decision earlier. Then there you go. New Zealand came out with their interest rate decision about an hour ago, and this is the hour candle with a huge pop. So let's check this out. Sometimes my MT4 brings up these things. Well, if we look at it over a 2-month period, it's been very strong, right? Well, not very strong, but it's been relatively strong. Let's see if we could draw some trend lines here. So a little bit longer trend line there. Could draw a pretty steep one here. Let's see. Really nothing else to really draw on it. So we have the algorithm saying it's going higher. I mean, it's already moved. Man, it's already moved about 200 pips or so. Yeah, about 200, just shy of 200 pips. Algorithm's looking at it like it's going to run higher. 91% chance that it does continue higher. I don't know how much weight I put in that forecast because this is news event driven. The algorithm doesn't read news, but it's reading the price action. So it's seeing this big candle, so it's thinking it's going to continue. So you would think eventually you'd get a pullback somewhere along this 200 pip move. So if you're looking to go along it, I'd probably to be a little bit on the conservative side, I'd probably say wait for a little bit of a pullback. Matter of fact, let's see here. So I drew a couple of trend lines up top, but I don't think the pullback would be this entire move. Obviously, if it does, I don't think you really want to be in it. If I look at the daily, let's see. So you have these tops here, which it's actually breaking now. It broke it by about 50 or 60 pips. Maybe if you get a pullback down to this level here, right, which is this trend line of these tops. So you're looking around, instead of chasing this thing, if you look to see it pull back closer down to the figure of 1.12, maybe 1.1210. Might be a pretty decent spot to go long. Again, it all depends on what you're looking to do as far as a scalp or a swing, but that might be a decent place to pick it up. Maybe even if it breaks, maybe buy some there, and if it takes out 1.12, maybe look to buy some closer to 1.11. So you could draw another line here, kind of just that top. That's about, call it 1.11. So, maybe somewhere within these two might be somewhere a decent place to go long. It's obviously, it wants to go. It wants to be off to the races. The algorithm here is only on daily, so I'm not really looking at it. I have to adjust it because it's really not given the proper forecast going back on just the daily. So, again, I don't know if you want to chase it. That's totally up to you. I personally look for a pullback, at least to the 112 level. Maybe you scale into it. Your out's got to be somewhere around the bottom of the big candle or even the bottom of this range right here. So call it 1.1020, right? So, if you grab it around 1.12, you're looking at about 180 pip stop. If you get somewhere in here, you'd be looking at 130 pip stop, something like that. So it wouldn't be too bad at all. Anything else, guys? Any other pairs I could look at for you real quick? We have a correlation of Aussie dollar to Aussie yen, which we're in right now. We've been in for a few days. We do look at, what do we look at? I'll look at my trading view. Let me see. We look at what is it? We look at a bunch of correlations. Oh, we look at AUD, Aussie Swiss franc to the Kiwi Swiss franc. Let's see what this correlation is doing here. Wow. So New Zealand, obviously it's the New Zealand news, right? So they've become uncorrelated because of that news. So I'm not going to get in, not going to, see this has became uncorrelated because of the New Zealand news. So not going to look to get in this right away. But we'll see. We'll see what happens tonight and tomorrow with this correlation. It's going to be one to watch. That's Aussie Swiss franc to Kiwi Swiss franc. We're already in Aussie dollar to New Zealand dollar, which obviously with this news we're getting beat up on a little bit. But we'll hold it until that correlation comes right back. So not a big deal at all. Let me bring it up. So this is the correlation, Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar. So we're actually short the New Zealand dollar, so we're doing very well on the New Zealand dollar. But it's the Aussie dollar that, no, excuse me, we're long. Let me see, I gotta look now. Hold on a second here. Yeah, we're long New Zealand dollar. Yes, that's the problem. So we're long New Zealand dollar. We're short Aussie dollar in this correlation. And we're getting beat up a little bit now that New Zealand dollar is sinking because we were down on the Aussie dollar, but we were up on that New Zealand dollar. And then obviously this happened. So, but that's okay. We'll wait it out with the correlation trade. It's not a big deal at all. So anything else? Correlation trading you really can't go wrong with because you really reduce your directional risk big time with correlation trading. Which is really nice. Well, we'll see what these pairs do tonight. Maybe we get something before we shut things down for the evening. So that's it. We're going to wrap it up, guys. Good luck trading tonight. If any signals come out, they'll be coming your way. If you want to join our virtual trading floor, just check out uniqueforexpro.com. Remember the economic news tonight. And the pairs that we're looking to trade. So if the signal comes out, they'll be coming your way for sure. All right, guys. Have a great night.